Welcome back, everybody. Ready to dive deep.
Always.
Okay, so today we're tackling something that maybe we all think we understand.
Mm-hmm.
Loving your neighbor as yourself, right?
Okay.
But we're going to kind of flip the script on that one
Oh,
and see what happens when we start with ourselves.
interesting.
And our source material this time is actually a podcast transcript,
Okay.
which, we don't usually do.
Right. Oh.
But this one is called How Can Loving Yourself First Unlock Greater Love for Others?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And I think you're going to like it too.
Okay.
The transcript uses Matthew 22.39 and Galatians 5.14 as kind of a starting point.
Got it.
But it gets really interesting when it zeroes in on that as your self part.
Oh, yeah. That's the part that's so easy to just gloss over.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the real challenge is.
Absolutely.
So what do you think? Is there something to that?
I mean, think about it. We say love thy neighbor as thyself, but how often do we really stop and consider what loving ourselves actually looks like?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like we're trying to build a house without a foundation.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. So does that mean the order actually matters?
What do you mean?
Like, do we have to love ourselves first in order to love others well?
Well, I don't know if the source material presents it as a strict chronological order,
Yeah.
more like a fundamental connection. Like
Yeah.
loving ourselves is what gives us the blueprint, the understanding,
Yeah.
the capacity even to love other people in a real and meaningful way,
I can see that.
you know?
But how do we even begin to define, like, what loving ourselves even means?
Right.
It can feel so, I don't know, selfish sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's all about me, me, me.
That's where the source really challenges us to think differently.
Okay,
It's not about ego or self-indulgence.
gotcha.
It's about recognizing our inherent worth
Okay.
as individuals created in God's image.
So more about recognizing whose we are.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And, part of that is acknowledging both our strengths and our weaknesses
Okay.
as part of a bigger plan.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Does that mean instead of constantly focusing on our flaws,
Mm-hmm.
we should be celebrating the good stuff?
Precisely. We all want to be recognized for our talents,
Totally.
for our accomplishments, for the things we're good at.
Right.
But how often do we actually give ourselves that same recognition?
Oh, man.
You know?
Not enough, probably.
Right. And that's where the source challenges us to shift our perspective.
Okay, how?
If we want other people to see the best in us,
Mm-hmm.
we need to start by seeing it in ourselves.
So no more false humility.
Right. It's not about boasting.
Okay.
It's about being honest,
Okay.
about acknowledging the gifts we've been given.
I can get behind that.
You see?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
Okay, so we're owning our strengths,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the not so strong stuff?
All the laws.
Yeah, the stuff we want to hide.
Well, let's think about it this way.
Yeah.
We all want acceptance from others,
For sure.
even when we make mistakes.
Yes, absolutely.
We want people to see beyond our mess-ups
Right, right.
and recognize our good intentions.
Okay.
So the question is,
Yeah.
how often do we extend that same grace to ourselves?
Ooh, good point.
Yeah.
Probably not nearly enough.
And that's a huge part of what the source is getting at.
Okay.
True self-love
Mm-hmm.
means accepting all of who we are,
The good, the bad,
the whole package.
imperfections and all.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like recognizing that we're all works in progress,
Okay.
constantly evolving,
Hmm.
growing,
Yeah.
making mistakes.
And that's okay.
It is.
More than okay.
So instead of beating ourselves up,
Mm-hmm.
we should be treating ourselves with the same compassion we offer others.
Absolutely. It's about silencing that inner critic.
Oh, I need to work on that.
Don't we all?
True.
And replacing it with a voice of love and encouragement. So self-love is about recognizing that our flaws don't define us.
Right.
They're just part of being human.
And in that shared humanity,
Mm-hmm.
we find a deeper connection to ourselves and to others.
I like that.
You see? It all comes back around.
It does. It's like we're being given permission
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to embrace our whole selves.
Exactly. The light and the shadow.
Yeah. Because that's where the true power is.
Tell me more about that.
It's not about denying our flaws
Right.
or pretending to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's about acknowledging them,
Yes.
accepting them,
Uh-huh.
and then using them to grow,
To transform.
to become who we were meant to be.
I love that.
You know what this makes me think of?
Yeah.
That passage in Corinthians.
Oh, you mean 1 Corinthians 13?
Yeah, the one about love being patient and kind.
Right.
I always thought that was about how we treat other people.
Mm-hmm. Most people do.
But this source material,
Yeah?
it makes a good point
What's that?
about applying those same qualities to how we treat ourselves.
That is profound. Right.
It completely changes the game.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you're saying self-love isn't selfish.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's actually the foundation for loving other people.
That's the heart of it.
Wow, okay. I need a minute to process that.
Take your time.
That's huge.
It is.
So how does this work in real life?
Well, that's where the source gets really practical.
Okay, good.
We're talking concrete steps.
Less theory, more action.
Exactly.
I'm ready.
I think you're going to love it.
I can't wait.
All right, let's dive in. It's amazing how this source ties self-love into recognizing we're part of something bigger,
Okay.
like God's grand design.
So less about me, and more about how we fit in.
Right. It's not about ego. It's about understanding we all have unique gifts, a purpose, you
Yeah.
know? And the source talks about how when we appreciate our own strengths,
Okay.
it can actually help us avoid envy.
Really?
Yeah. When we see our own value, our own capability,
Yeah.
we're less likely to compare ourselves to others.
And feel threatened by their success.
Exactly. It changes how we see the world, our place in it.
From competing to celebrating almost.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And the source actually uses this great analogy.
Okay, I love a good analogy.
It's tapestry, right?
Oh.
With each thread being a person,
Gotcha.
and each one's unique,
Mm-hmm.
essential to the whole tapestry's beauty.
So instead of trying to be the brightest thread,
Yeah.
we can appreciate how everyone adds to the design.
That's it,
That's really beautiful.
isn't it?
It makes me think about like all the different people in my life,
Yeah.
how their strengths, their views make my experiences richer.
I love that.
And, thinking about those threads,
Yeah.
the source makes a similar point about our flaws.
Tell me more.
Instead of hiding them, being ashamed,
Yeah.
what if we saw them as like chances to grow, to connect with others?
That's powerful.
Because we're all human.
Right.
We all mess up.
We all need grace.
And honestly, those imperfections make us relatable.
Absolutely. Like, I feel closer to people who can admit they're not perfect.
Me too. When someone's always trying to seem perfect,
Oh, yeah.
it builds a wall.
It creates distance
But being open about our struggles, that's where real connection happens.
with ourselves and with others.
It's like true intimacy.
Yes.
And it makes me think about what the source said about recognizing our flaws, helping us realize how much we need God
Oh, yeah.
and each other.
It's humbling.
For sure.
And it can lead to more humility, more empathy.
That's such a good point.
So instead of dwelling on what we lack,
Mm-hmm.
we see our shared need for love.
For support.
We're all in this together, figuring it out as we go.
That's actually really comforting.
Isn't it?
Takes the pressure off having to be perfect all the time.
And that's where the freedom comes in.
Freedom to just be ourselves.
Exactly. Authentically.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about why this self-love matters
Right.
for loving others. But I'm still kind of stuck on the how.
How to cultivate it.
Yeah. How do we actually do this self-love thing?
Well, luckily, the source gives us some practical steps.
Okay, good. Because I need that.
Less theory, more action, right?
Get me with it.
All right, first, we need to shift our mindset.
Okay, in what way?
We need to intentionally recognize our strengths.
Okay.
Celebrate what we accomplish, big or small.
So not just brush off compliments
No.
or downplay our achievements.
Pause and really take them in.
Appreciate ourselves.
Yeah.
Well,
Recognize those God-given talents.
and how we contribute to the world.
It's like making deposits in your emotional bank account.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Every time you acknowledge a strength, celebrate a win,
Yeah.
you're adding to your self-worth.
I'm going to start doing that.
I think you'll be surprised how good it feels.
But what about when we mess up? How does self-love deal with that?
That's where self-compassion comes in.
Okay.
The source is big on being kind to ourselves,
Even when we make mistakes.
especially then. We offer that grace to others.
Right. To friends, family.
Yeah, so why not to ourselves?
Treat ourselves like we treat someone we love who's having a hard time.
Exactly. We all mess up. It's part of being human.
It's so much easier said than done, though.
Oh, I know.
It's like my brain is wired for self-criticism.
Ah, that inner critic.
So loud.
And that's where the real work is.
Okay.
The source talks about becoming aware of that voice
Mm-hmm.
and actively challenging those negative messages.
So replace the criticism with positive self-talk.
Yes. Retrain your brain.
Focus on the good, the
You
potential.
got it. It takes practice, intentionality.
But we can go from self-criticism to self-compassion.
That's the goal.
This is sounding a lot like self-care.
And you're right, they're connected.
It's so important, but I'm bad at prioritizing it.
That's another key part of self-love,
Yeah.
Recognizing that we deserve care, attention,
Physically, emotionally.
It's not selfish to take care of ourselves.
It's essential, like
Yeah.
they say.
Yeah. You can't pour from an empty cup.
If we don't meet our own needs, we have nothing to give others.
That's why the source is all about prioritizing things that nourish us.
Mm-hmm.
Time and nature, a good book.
A long bath, just enough sleep,
Well, whatever fills you up. Self-care is love.
love for ourselves, and that spills over to others.
Exactly. And I love how the source brings it back to our relationship with God.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
Spending time in prayer, in scripture.
Seeking his guidance.
All of that can be so powerful for self-love.
It's about remembering we're God's children.
Beloved, worthy of love just as we are.
When we connect to that unconditional love, it fills us up from the inside out.
And then we can love ourselves.
And others.
Freely and authentically.
Okay, so mindset shifts, self-care.
What else?
Is there more to cultivating self-love?
There is, and this one's really important. Setting boundaries.
Boundaries. How does that fit in?
It's about honoring our own needs and limits.
Okay.
Sometimes loving ourselves means saying no.
The things that drain us.
Yeah. Things that compromise our well-being.
So it's okay to say no without guilt.
Yes. Your time, your energy,
Those are precious.
they're resources, and you choose how to spend them.
Saying no to something that's not right for me, that's actually self-respect.
It's self-love.
You know, I'm realizing I've been neglecting my own needs.
Trying to please everyone else.
Yeah, way too much.
But the source reminds us,
What's that?
true self-love means protecting our well-being.
Physical, emotional, spiritual.
We're worthy of respect, of consideration.
And it's okay to prioritize ourselves.
It is.
I'm seeing how it all connects now. The mindset, the self-care, the boundaries.
And all build that foundation of self-love.
And from there,
Yeah.
we can love others better.
More fully, authentically.
Everything changes.
And as we go deeper into the source,
Okay.
we'll see how this new view of self-love
Yeah,
can completely transform our relationships, our interactions.
I'm ready to see where this goes.
It's going to be good, trust me.
I'm already feeling my perspective shifting.
It's powerful stuff.
So let's dive into the next chapter
See how self-love changes how we connect with others.
and how we make a difference in the world.
Exactly. That's where we're headed.
All right, so we've talked a lot about how self-love can actually help us love others better.
It's a game changer, for sure.
But I'm ready to see this in action.
Yeah.
Like, what difference does it really make?
You want to get practical.
Exactly. How does this play out in our relationships, our everyday interactions?
That's the fun part. Imagine approaching every encounter with that same grace, that understanding we're cultivating for ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
How do you think that would change things?
Well, I think I'd be a lot less judgmental.
Tell me more.
You know, when I'm feeling insecure or down on myself,
Yeah.
I tend to project that onto others.
It's like that saying,
What's that?
hurt people, hurt people.
That's it?
Yeah, and the source talks about how self-love,
Okay.
it can help us break free from that.
From the comparison, the competition.
Exactly. When we're secure in our own worth,
Yeah.
we don't feel threatened by other people's success.
It's not a zero-sum game anymore.
Right. There's enough room for everyone to shine.
So instead of tearing others down, I can celebrate their wins
Yes.
without feeling like it takes away from me.
And that creates a much more positive environment for everyone.
Totally.
And, you know, the source suggests that this shift in perspective,
No.
it can actually help us see others better.
What do you mean?
Recognize their strengths, their potential.
Even when they're messing up.
Even then, we can start to see them through
Right.
a lens of possibility.
Instead of focusing on their flaws.
It's like remembering everyone's part of God's plan.
Oh, yeah.
We each have gifts. We all have something to offer.
And we all deserve to be seen for that.
Self-love helps us recognize that inherent worth in everyone, no matter what.
And it's making me think back to how self-love
Yeah.
can be like a conduit for God's love
Oh, I love that image.
to flow through us and touch others.
The more we love and accept ourselves, the more we can extend that to those around us.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is.
And, you know, the source talks about how this self-love
Yeah.
can actually lead to more empathy
More compassion.
for people who are different from us.
Exactly. It breaks down those barriers
Builds bridges of understanding.
across cultures, backgrounds, beliefs.
That feels so important right now.
Why is that?
There's just so much division in the world.
You're right, there is.
But if we can start with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it can spread outward.
Inspire others to love themselves.
And then love others better too.
It's a ripple effect.
I love that.
What do you think would happen
Yeah.
if more people embraced this idea of self-love?
the world would be a different place.
How so?
More understanding, more forgiving.
People seeing the good in each other.
It's a beautiful thought.
It starts with each of us
Making that choice,
to love ourselves,
just as we are.
flaws and all,
So powerful.
isn't it? As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one last thought
Okay.
from the source material.
Mm-hmm.
If we truly saw ourselves as God's masterpiece, flaws and all, how would that change how we treat ourselves and others?
Wow, that's a question to ponder for sure.
It is.
It makes me realize self-love isn't just about feeling good.
Right.
It's about tapping into something powerful.
A love that can change the world.
This deep dive has been amazing.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
We've gone so deep into this idea, loving
Yeah.
your neighbor as yourself.
And I feel like I get it now.
Like, really get it.
That's what we hope for.
And remember, everyone,
Yeah.
this is just the beginning,
Of the journey.
the journey of self-love.
It's ongoing, always more to learn.
So keep exploring,
Keep questioning.
keep seeking truth.
That's the key.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be back next time with another thought-provoking exploration.
Can't wait.
Until then, keep diving deep.